Hi guys, it's Reagan and welcome back to another video. Today's video I'm so excited about because friends, one, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, but two, I am in my once yearly romance rabbit hole and we are vlogging a bunch of romance books together. But before we dive into more details and the books themselves, I did want to quickly mention that this video is sponsored by Cricut and I will be doing an organizational based craft later on in this video, which I'm very excited for, but let's sit down, get comfortable, and chat some romance. So if you've watched my channel for some time, you may have realized that I basically have this once yearly phenomenon where I like fall headfirst into romance. It's all I can think about, it's all I can read, it's all I can watch. Basically for about a week straight, I just consume like an insane amount of romantic based media, and then I sort of shift back to my traditional science fiction and fantasy. And well friends, we are in that episode. I think it was maybe spurred on by the release of Bridgerton season 3 because it just reminds me like how much I love romance and watching people fall in love. So all that to say is the TBR for this video I'm really excited about. I initially planned to have this style video later on in the summer, but given I'm just so in the mood to read it, I thought let's just do it now. That's right friends, I'm gonna be reading a bunch of Emily Henry books for this video. I actually ordered a fourth book, Book Lovers, as well, and we're just gonna see how many Emily Henry romance books I can get through this week. I've only ever read one other Emily Henry book, Beach Read, which I did really enjoy, so I have a feeling I'm gonna have a lot of fun reading all of these books, and I also just feel like they could be some of my new favorite romance reads. So first on the list TBR wise is the new release, which is Funny Story. I think I might start with this one because the synopsis just really sold me. It's fake dating. It's basically two individuals who got left by their respective partners suddenly for each other, and they move in with each other, they become roommates and begin to fake date to sort of get back at their exes. It sounds quite frankly like a funny story, and I love people being spiteful. It's great. Then I have People We Meet on Vacation. I think this is sort of a friends to lovers slow burn situation. Two friends that have traveled with each other every summer for 10 years, and now I think it's sort of their last trip and maybe their last chance to speak about their feelings with one another. And then lastly, I have Happy Place, which a lot of people kind of refer this to be more of an ensemble novel, more of a friends oriented book with obviously romance at the core. Two people who've been in a relationship for a long time, who every single year go on a big trip with all of their closest friends, but now they're broken up, but they're keeping it secret. Sounds dramatic and emotional. And then I also want to mention, again, I ordered Book Lovers. Not actually totally sure on the synopsis of this one, but I thought I would have it in reserve if I wanted to swap it in. But yes, friends, that's my TBR. We're reading a bunch of Emily Henry, and I feel like this is a perfect like kickoff to summer and a kickoff to romance. And yes, I will be watching romance shows alongside my reading because it's my week of romance fun, my hyperfixation. And it's gonna be great, it's gonna be spectacular. Any romance reading vlog is made better with instant ramen. Also very exciting, I get to use my new ramen bowl. Times of year is peony season, and look at my flowers go. They're so beautiful. I love them. This is the only one. Stubborn, but they're stunning and they smell so good. In other news, I am gonna make myself an afternoon cup of coffee from my leftover morning coffee because, you know, I didn't finish it. And Clay is out of town for work today, and he drinks a lot more coffee than me, so I have all this leftover coffee I need to consume. And then I'm gonna sit down and start Funny Story by Emily Henry because I love fake dating, revenge plot lines. It just sounds too good. I'm excited. Y'all, I have a reading update of Funny Story by Emily Henry, and I can already tell like 60 pages in, I'm about to eat this book up. Just the tropes are troping. Like the setup is just something I love, and I'm almost like not nervous or worried because I think I'm gonna like all of her books, but like maybe I shouldn't have started with this one because like this I feel like is going to be a home run in terms of just like fun romance. But let me take a step back. So what is this book about? So this story introduces us to our two main characters, Daphne and Miles, and the setup is just simply too good. So basically our main character Daphne is very much a planner. She's a child librarian. She likes her life structured. She's more of a few close friends, not very social kind of gal. She and her fiance moved to his like small hometown in Michigan, like near the beach. But then something rather unexpected happened, and that is on the night of his bachelor party, he realized that he was actually in love with his childhood best friend all along, and then he leaves her suddenly. So now Daphne finds herself living in a small town that's not hers, and desperately just trying to get out. Like, she's depressed, she's frustrated, she's running into these people she doesn't want to see, but she does love her job there because she has a job as being a librarian at the local library, and she loves it. There though, she obviously had to move out of the home with her fiance, and she moves in with the childhood best friend's ex-boyfriend. So it's these two exes, Miles and Daphne, living together in the same space and proximity, basically like wallowing in their sorrows, hating each other, and kind of going through like the stages of processing their breakup together in some aspects. The book opens with basically these characters not really interacting at all, but then like one fateful night, they kind of like hang out, and they're both actually invited to the wedding of their exes because they're now married together. And in like a moment of weakness, they RSVP and basically tell their exes that they're now together, and they're kind of putting on this like fake dating sort of situation to kind of get back at their exes. So very spiteful, but then they also clearly begin to grow feelings for one another. So there's a lot of like forced proximity, awkwardness also that is just like unbelievably delicious. But alongside like the rom-com element of this book is also a lot about like taking ownership of your life once again, or what I anticipate. I've only read 60 pages. And like our main character Daphne for a long time clearly sort of lost herself in her previous relationship, kind of doing a lot of the things that he liked to do. And you can clearly see she's beginning the process of like trying new things for herself and discovering things for herself now in this like new version of herself, and kind of celebrating like who she is as a person. And it's great. And Miles and her have this great banter. It's funny so far. I mean, I read that 60 pages so fast. Like, I'm telling you, I'm eating this up. I'm eating it up. And I just already know. Like, this feels like a one day kind of book. You start it, you can't stop. And that's how I feel. So anyway, I'm gonna keep reading now. I love the color of this hardback too, but I just thought I'd give you an update and also a synopsis of what this book is about. It's too good. Also, the small town Michigan setting is so good. It very much gives like beach town, vacation town vibes, which just works so well with like summer rom-com. Like, it's starting to get warm. It's making me, I mean, transparently, summer in Texas is terrible, but summer in other places is like idyllic and scenic. So like visually, it's nice to be transported somewhere else in that regards. And it's a great backdrop for a romance story, but I'm loving it. I'm loving it so much. Hi guys, it's finally time to sit down and do my very needed organizational craft with Cricut. Obviously, we stan Cricut in this house. I've truly had such a blast using their machines and all of their materials that pair so seamlessly with their machines to make such a huge variety of crafts over the years, from labels to menus, place cards at my own wedding. I truly feel like the world is my oyster with my Cricut, and I also feel like their products are designed to give you more time to actually focus on creating versus agonizing over how you're going to make it. Today's craft is something, I'm not gonna lie, I have been putting off for quite some time. I have documented the process of making myself kind of a dream game and workspace in our guest room. An area of that room I have not procrastinated on at all is making it game ready. Something I had procrastinated on is getting myself actually organized within my desk. Put it simply, I have not had any form of organization in any of my desk drawers or like my important files that you kind of need as an adult ever. I sort of just have this big bucket, which I call the bucket of doom, where I put all of my important documents, and it maybe will take an hour at a time to actually find anything in there. So today, all of that is changing. Let me set you down. Because today, friends, with my Cricut, and you can see in the Cricut design space, I'm gonna be making some much needed labels and getting my life together. The materials I'm gonna be using for this are very straightforward. I just have smart paper sticker cardstock, and I really loved this color in particular. I also have my many colors from my pen set. I think I'm just gonna stick to black though for actually making the labels. In terms of the organizational items, we're making labels for file folders, so I actually have designated places for my important documents instead of my bucket of doom. And I also plan to make labels for my drawer inserts, which I also picked up because I feel like if I have a label, I can't ignore it in the moment and just kind of like dump everything together, which inevitably happens with my drawers. So let's get to it. And as always, I will have my craft, all of my Cricut materials I'm using today, as well as some of my other Cricut products linked down below, but let's get crafting. Here are my labels in the Cricut design space. The great thing I love about this is that I am just gonna save this to a folder, and when the time comes that I need to make more labels, new labels, additional labels, I can very easily and just add it to the ones I already have. But as you can see here, look at that. Taxes, home documents, travel docs, MISC, labels, all sorts of things. We're getting my life together. I have my blade and pen in my machine, and now I just need to load up my smart material. I don't even need a mat for this. It's truly such a seamless craft. Cricut once again making me look like I have good handwriting or drawing skills, which I'm obsessed with. Label making is complete. And now it's cutting. I even left some blank ones if I wanted to write something in myself later. And just like that, my labels are complete. This will definitely be by far the most fun and the easiest part of this chore today, per usual with my Cricut. I'm gonna have some overlaid shots of my newly updated filing cabinet and drawer system with my stuff now organized, not only with these beautiful labels, but also just refining everything down and getting my life together overall. Thank you again so much for Cricut for sponsoring this video. Not only are you helping me constantly get my life together and becoming more organized, but Cricut also just empowers me to try and do so many other fun crafts as well. I've had my Cricut now for years. It's truly such a blast. Again, I'll have everything linked down below, but without further ado, let's go ahead and dive back into the reading vlog. Good news, everyone. I am giggling and kicking my feet while reading. Funny story. I have not been able to put this book down since I picked it up today. I have now read 150 pages of this book, and it's just like everything I could want. Emily Henry, I feel like, is so good at doing this thing where she creates like fun, romantic, witty, steamy moments with her characters, but she also carves out and leaves time to have interesting and reflective moments with her characters, so they feel really real and they're like interesting as a pair, but they're also growing individually too. And I think this type of thing just makes it so satisfying, especially because our two characters, Miles and Daphne, in this book are coming off of a huge heartbreak, a huge like turning upside down of their lives. And not only are they like finding comfort in each other, but they're also exploring and like accepting aspects of themselves that they've never previously accepted, and also being vulnerable in ways that they've never previously been. And I'm eating it up. I'm eating it up. And the thing is, she pairs these like beautiful moments of vulnerability with just like delicious giggling scenes of not just steaminess, but like moments that are so dramatic and over the top, but like make sense of the story, that just makes it so good. Because obviously there's the forced proximity and the fake dating and two people like getting over heartbreak. Yes, but there's also the reality that their exes are dating each other and in the same town. So there's so many scenes where they're like fake dating, running into their exes, and like the drama of those moments, I cannot understate like how entertaining it is. It is so entertaining. Alongside the romance, I'm really appreciating Daphne as a main character. Honestly, like Daphne is so me-coded. Like she's private, she's quiet, she's more self-restrained, she's a planner. She has, you know, aspects of her childhood that's sort of informing some of her limitations, like things that limit her as an adult, like things she prevents herself from like doing or feeling. But she's sort of trying to like shed a lot of that away and like embrace this new chapter of her life, which is nice to see. Also like work to acknowledge some of her shortcomings, her failings, and like work to fix that. She's always been a we person. She's always kind of gone along for the ride with the person that she loves, be it her mother, her boyfriend, her best friend, and now she's like trying to be an I person, like find out what she wants for herself. And it's so good. It's so entertaining. In the small town setting, the humor, I'm laughing. It's so good. The chemistry between these two characters is also unreal. And I'm not gonna lie, like Miles is an attractive sounding fictional man. Also, Emily Henry does this thing where she doesn't distract me with too much current day pop culture or clothing. Like she references outfits, but it's like vague enough where it could work at any time. I feel like I'm often most pulled out of contemporary romance when it gets too referential to like present day, and I feel like this book is not doing that to its success. It's just so fun. Like, I've read so much and I'm gonna keep reading. Like, I can't put it down. Like, I'm addicted to them. I love them. I'm rooting for them, and I want Petra and Peter, their exes, to like fall into a lake, have a cake thrown in their face. Like, I wish ill on these fictional people, and I'm eating it up. I'm eating it up. It's so good. It's so entertaining. God bless romance. God bless romance. Help. I've read 275 pages of this book in basically one sitting. I'm definitely finishing this tonight. Daphne and Miles, what you do to me, what you do to me. Y'all already know. And I also started rewatching Bridgerton season 1 to go along with the romance vibes. I have finished my rewatch of Bridgerton season 1. Honestly, I definitely liked it more the second time around. I never even finished it the first time around. It still stands as my least favorite Bridgerton, but I think it was more enjoyable to watch reflectively because I like the side characters more, because I know what they become, which helps me forgive them for who they were, if you know what I mean. Like, particularly with Anthony, I'm like, Anthony, I hate you right now, but you're so much better in season 2, so like, I'll let all this behavior slide, among other things, but it still is like the worst one. Anyway, now that I finished that though, I'm gonna sit down and read more funny story. I'm definitely gonna finish this book tonight because it's agonizing. I need to know how it's all gonna wrap up. Like, even though I have pretty like positive expectations, something I haven't mentioned about this book that I'm also just really enjoying is the relationships outside of the romantic pairing. The romantic pairing is definitely center stage, and their relationship, their friendship, their angst, all of that, but there is a lot of discussion about the importance of friendship and boundaries and like what it means to be vulnerable with people in your life across different connection, from family to friendship, romantically. And I like to see, and I've really enjoyed seeing both of our main characters be vulnerable with different people that are important in their lives, or put themselves out there to like make friends and have that be a part of the book and a part of their character development. It's not only like a good thing to read, but it makes sense, I think, for both of their character progressions and to make them even like better partners generally too. So it's just nice to see. Anyway, I'm loving this book. I have about 90 pages left, so I'm gonna finish that now, especially now that I've finished Bridgerton. And then I think tomorrow I'm gonna start that one German show, Maxton Hall, I think it's called. We're just gonna see. I'm here for a reading update because I finished Funny Story by Emily Henry last night. I really liked this book. This book was so fun and gripping. I felt like the romantic pacing was so good. The author really strung us along perfectly, but sort of gave in at all the right places. I read this book literally in one day, so I don't really have much negative to say about it. In terms of giving me like a rom-com story that's light and fun, but also has like a bit of heart, this was great. I liked how it ended. I liked how the whole story wrapped up. I liked that there was a little bit of a third act drama, but it didn't take over like the full last third of the story. So there was drama, but resolution. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, first Emily Henry book down, newest release. And like, how's she gonna top this? I thought it was so fun. But the next book I'm gonna pick up today is Happy Place by Emily Henry. And I'm curious about this one because I feel like in some ways this is maybe the one that people don't always love, like it's hit or miss. And a lot of people say that this book feels like a little different than her other ones. So I'm curious personally how it's going to land for me. This is also described as more of an ensemble heavy Emily Henry book, but it does have forced proximity and fake dating again, which, as we already know, I love those things. Though it is a second chance romance, which I generally don't gravitate towards, so I'm curious about it. But the setup and synopsis of Happy Place is we're following our main character, Harriet, and Harriet and her group of friends have been going to this house in Maine for years and years and years. For 1 week during the summer, they all met in college. They're incredibly close. And Harriet also met Wynn, her fiance, here 8 years prior. But at the beginning of this book, Wynn and Harriet have broken up. And they haven't told any of their friends, but it's time for this yearly trip to Maine, and it's kind of also the time that they're finally gonna come clean about their relationship sort of breaking apart. But due to some circumstances, they actually really can't tell them, and it's actually like a logical reason that I'll buy into. Like, this definitely is a miscommunication trope, but I feel like Emily Henry does a good job kind of balancing that. Anyways, now they're fake dating during this week, and there's clearly going to be like a lot of longing, and we skip forward and back from present day to the past at the beginning of their relationship. I've actually already started this book. I've read a quick 40 pages, and the level of angst that has existed within the first 40 pages of this book, excellent, creme de la creme. I also feel like the author did a really good job sort of setting the stage quickly, introducing us to all of the friends, giving us context to like this breakup, jumping forward and back in time. Like, I feel like she didn't waste a lot of time with exposition, and we're just like in the story very quickly. But I'm curious about ultimately how I'm gonna feel about this, just because I feel like more mixed reviews. Like, I think it's one of the lower rated Emily Henry books. It still has a 4 stars, which is still very high. So I'm curious like how I'm gonna feel about it. So we're just gonna go in and see. But I love Maine. I love some Richie Rich friends living their Richie Rich lifestyle in this house in Maine. And I'm here for, one thing I do love is longing and angst. And I feel like this is gonna have supreme longing because of the complicated nature of their relationship. So we will read. We will read the story of Harriet and Wynne and their friends in Maine. And I'm looking forward to it. But now I need to make lunch because it's actually well past lunchtime and I am starving. So we're gonna do that now, and then I'm definitely gonna sit down and do some more reading today, as those 40 pages I just like devoured, if I'm being honest, and I'm just curious to see what's going to happen next. One book down, 384 pages read. I've already read another 40 pages. I'm hoping to read at least 3 books. At the pace at which I'm reading these Emily Henry novels, I feel like that's actually definitely possible. They read so fast. A little burrata prosciutto toast. I'm gonna eat this, and then I think I'm gonna do another round of toast, but this time with a raspberry jam. So that's the plan. Hello. I have T-minus 2 hours until, well, probably like 2.5 hours until Clay's home from the airport from his business trip. Yes, I'm excited to see him, don't get me wrong, but also I know he's gonna distract me from my Emily Henry read-a-thon. So all that to say, I'm gonna heat up some coffee and we're gonna sit down, read more Happy Place. It's interesting because Happy Place, going into it, I mean, I've only read 40 pages. I really was like, I had lower expectations, but I'm really liking it. The writing style and the tone of it feels slightly more literary leaning from some of the other Emily Henry books I have read. And the longing, I love longing. Guys, I'm literally guffawing. Is that how you say that word? I'm literally like this reading this book over and over again. I'm dying, but let me take a step back. So obviously we're in Maine, group of BFFs. We are having a final run at this yearly trip because the house that they've been going to every year is being sold. We have Wynne and Harriet, our 2 main characters, keeping a secret from all of their friends. Their 8-year relationship has broken up. But the thing is, as a reader, we do not know why they broke up. We're reading from like Harriet's POV. We don't know why they broke up. Harriet clearly still has feelings for Wynne. And clearly Wynne reads like Wynne has feelings for Harriet, but he broke up with her. We do not know why. And I feel like that why is the big question mark of this whole book. But this fake dating is bananas because the tension and the chemistry between these 2 characters is insane. And what I really like is we have these present day chapters, but she gives us past chapters too, which like amps up the chemistry and the longing in the present even more because we see them fall in love, we see different chapters of their relationship, and it really is so convincing. And there are just so many moments in present day that it has me on the edge of my seat. Like, I'm like, it's giving season 2 of Bridgerton, from the absolute like burning longing but won't say any, like they're not saying anything to each other right now, but like the tension could be cut with a knife, and it's both, it's just so addicting. Like, it's so addicting to read. And listen, normally I don't like the miscommunication trope. They clearly need to have a conversation about what, like, he clearly needs to communicate why they broke up. They clearly need to like be honest about how they're feeling, but I almost don't even care because I know they will eventually, probably, I'm assuming. But all of this other stuff that's happening is so delicious. Like this man clearly is obsessed with Harriet. But why did he break up with her? Why? And they've been obsessed with each other like the whole time. It's cool too because we get what I imagine is going to be a double love story, right? We get the story of how they fell in love in the beginning of the relationship, which I'm also like loving to read when they're much younger. We also get this present day story of them broken up, but probably having a second chance at love too, in the same place around the same people. It's good stuff. And what they have to put on in front of their friends also like know them. So it's not like fake dating amongst strangers of people who won't be able to know their tells. Like these people know each other. Outside of the drama between Harriet and Wynne, there's also some interesting stuff going on with the friends. There's a wedding that's happening, which is why they're lying. And one, I love the friendship dynamic of this group. They have a lot of history and a lot of love for each other, but there's also clearly other things that people aren't saying to each other, other tension or stuff people haven't want to bring up because they don't want to like ruin everyone's good time. And so I do feel like this is like a book of secrets. Like people are not being transparent about their life in trying to spare other people's feelings, and I feel like things are gonna like explode. So I like that this is ensemble, but it's still, Harriet is definitely still center stage here. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Also, because he broke up with her, she's like made this deal to like whatever, fake date. And I feel like she's like trying to, she's being a little spiteful in a way that's like good for her. You know what I mean? Progress. I've read so much of this book. I will say, if you struggle with miscommunication, this book might drive you crazy because these two people need to have a conversation so desperately. They clearly love each other so much, and I already know, like I've already surmised, I think I could very much be wrong, why Wynne broke up with Harriet, and it's and it makes me want to just punch him in the face. I could be wrong though, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. Ugh. Clay is back in town and we're each heating up our own respective TV-esque dinner that we got from the grocery store to enjoy. And to everyone who thinks I always cook elaborate meals every time I cook, very false. I love a frozen meal. I love a pre-made meal. I love takeout. And tonight it's a pre-made meal that's like cheaper than takeout, and that's why we're doing it. But they're good too. Like Central Market, their prepared food is delicious. Hello, I'm about to sit down now and possibly finish Happy Place. I have about 100 pages left, so I might not be able to finish it tonight, but I'm definitely on track to finish it tomorrow morning, and then we will just move into the third book and the third day. I have literally just been knocking out one of these books a day. Anyway, Happy Place. I am really liking this book, though I will say it is rather emotional. Something I like about Happy Place is that so often, at least in the romance books I read, it's often about people coming together for the first time. You know, learning about each other, falling in love, and like that initial aspect of a relationship. We often get an epilogue where we see them maybe a year later, a couple years later, like continuing to be happy, settling into their life. What's interesting about Happy Place is that we're following what is a really long relationship, and we're actually seeing so many different chapters and moments throughout the relationship to give us context to where they are now. And it really shows, one, they got together when they were really young. It shows how two people can grow and evolve, and how a relationship can have many different facets and chapters like within one relationship, which I think is a really beautiful thing. Also, this book definitely has some darker topics, and I typically would say Emily Henry books tend to include like an emotional aspect, but this book in particular really centers mental health, grief, like insecurity, And it's just interesting to see those things explored in the context of two people who are incredibly familiar with one another. These aren't two people who just got to know each other and feel really close and connected. Like, these are two people who know like so much about each other, and like every small thing, like they can't really easily lie or deceive or cover up their feelings, because they're just, it's all to say is like, it's just interesting to watch a romance of two people known and have loved each other for so long, because in some ways they're falling in love with each other, not again, because they never fell out of love with each other, but they're still finding new aspects about the other person to know and to grow with. And this has also brought pain for both of them and frustration, obviously, but it's just like the longing and again like the love that exists. It's good stuff. There could be beautiful relationships with friends or with romantic partners, and there's still going to be moments of conflict that are kind of going to be a flashpoint, and like in terms of like growing and changing and evolving with that, or kind of running from that. And that's kind of a big part of this book too. I'm rooting for them so bad, and I really don't know how this book is going to wrap up, but I am emotionally distressed, like shedding a tear for sure. Also, one thing I will say too that I appreciate about Emily Henry, I've now read 3 of her books, 2 books back to back. Her main characters feel very distinct. I feel like there's like a consistent voice throughout her stories, but the actual stories, the characters themselves, the issues, the perspectives, the choices they're making feel very unique to the characters that she's writing. Don't get me wrong, she loves witty banter, and she's good at writing witty banter. So all of her characters have like a quick wit about them, but they all have their own thing and their own personality, which is good and also very, very important. So anyway, I'm gonna read now. We're gonna be finishing this book soon. I really like Happy Place a lot. I don't even know, I can't even pick favorites. It's like picking a favorite child. A gloomy but ultra humid, as you can see by this, day outside today. Ugh. I hope it rains. I would love for it to rain. But in the meantime, it is time for a cup of coffee. A perfect morning, if you ask me, to finish Happy Place and just desperately have 2 people actually talk to each other and express their thoughts and feelings. Might be too much to ask though, if I'm being honest. I also have decided I want to read Book Lovers next for my 3rd book, but it has not come yet. And I feel like I'm just like, peeping out the window. I'm like, where are you? Because I know I'm gonna finish Happy Place so soon. Like, look at this. Like, I have like none of this book left. So what am I gonna do if I don't have, I mean, I could start People We Meet on Vacation, but I feel like People We Meet on Vacation in this, not that they're the same story at all, but they might have like similar vibes. Like, I want to pivot. I want to pivot to Book Lovers. I'll try to be patient. Hi, so reading update. I finished Happy Place this morning. That is 300, and I think another 85 pages paired with my 384 pages from yesterday. I would have already started reading my next book, which I have decided is Book Lovers, but it has not been delivered yet. And I'm just staring out the window. So in the meantime, I think I am gonna watch Survivor, but I'm gonna wrap up my thoughts and feelings on Happy Place because I did really like this book. I felt like the emotional aspect of this book has maybe been the most hard-hitting for me when reading Emily Henry. The discussions of grief, the complex nature of relationships that evolve with time, how people need and want different things within a relationship with time. And I appreciated a lot of the topics and discussions. I really loved the romance in this and that they just seem to love each other so much and so deeply. I was annoyed with them. They were doing this thing the whole time, making like executive decisions for the other person emotionally, but like thinking they're doing the right thing. Classic, I know. So there is a lot of miscommunication in this, but I do feel like the characters are endearing enough that you'll just like want to see them work through it, even if you just want to slap them in the face and tell them to just like talk to each other. Gosh darn it, you know what I mean? Figure your stuff out because you're embarrassing me. But I did like this book. And I also like the discussion of like expectations for yourself in life and as you get older and as you reflect on like what you're doing and how you're moving through the world and how maybe what you always thought you wanted wasn't actually what you wanted all along, and the fear and the shame of like trying to pivot even though people have like expectations for you. But ultimately, like, life is so long, so making the decision to make a new decision for yourself, to make yourself happier, to find your happy place, is key and important and totally possible at the same time. So yeah, I really liked Happy Place. I don't know if I can pick between Happy Place and Funny Story. Happy Place felt more serious, but I blew through both of them. I could not put either of those two books down, and I really love them both. Honestly, like maybe 5 stars for each of them. And now we're gonna read my 3rd book tomorrow. I mean, I would read it now if it was here, but alas, I must wait. And I do have a date night tonight, so I am gonna hang out with Clay for a little bit, but then soon I'll be reading another romance novel. Fear not, fear not. Update, my 3rd romance book has not arrived yet, but I am about to leave the house to go on a date, so I thought I'd show you my outfit because it is cute, little summer dress. It's already 90 degrees in Texas, so at least I can break out the breezy dresses that I love so much. I don't know. We picked up bagels. Hello, Matilda. And we're gonna sit down and watch the new episode of Summer House. Good morning, friends. Great news. I have procured book lovers. We're back in business. My 8-hour hiatus from reading Emily Henry novels is officially over. And I've started this book and I'm really liking it. And it also feels like a little bit of a pivot from Happy Place and Funny Story, which both had fake dating. So this is staunchly enemies to lovers, and I love it so far. So Book Lovers follows our main character, Nora, and Nora is she describes herself as the ice queen that men leave when they go to a small town in a romance novel and they fall in love with like a bakery owner or a boutique hotel owner. And in fact, this particular instance has happened to her like multiple times in her life. Nora herself is self-assured. She's very successful. She is a literary agent. She's just like very sure on herself, but she also protects herself from a lot of people in her life. She's super close with her sister. She's basically just like a likable girl boss-esque character. And I just think the concept of kind of taking the typical villain of a romance novel and sort of centering her as the main character is just it's just a really clever one and a very, very fun one. And I appreciate that sort of pivot that Emily Henry's doing. At the beginning of the book, we witness Nora sort of have this lunch with her arch nemesis, who is an editor at a very successful like publishing house, and they do not hit it off. He hates her client's book. They're just like kind of going back and forth, having a bad time. Fast forward, her client's book is published. It absolutely like did so well, has sold 1 million copies, and there's a small town at the heart of this book called Sunshine Falls. And her sister, who's like a big romantic and is pregnant with her 3rd child, like basically sets up a sister trip where they're gonna go and stay there for a month and like knock off all these things off a checklist. Nora herself kind of struggles from stepping away from work, doesn't really you know, want to leave for a month, but she decides to do it because she loves her sister so much. They grew up together, and it is implied that at some point Nora definitely took over the care for her sister after the passing of their mother. So they're close, and you can very quickly believe and see the closeness that exists between the two of them. They arrive in this small town. She's trying to just like live by the seat of her pants, sort of give herself a break. And lo and behold, who does she run into? Her arch nemesis editor, who for some reason is in this small town himself. And just like the drama between is amazing. They've been having this like email back and forth that's both like charged but a little dramatic, that has been just very entertaining to read. And just in general, the first 80 pages of this book, which I read this morning, I have flown through. I love enemies to lovers. I love that this book is centering books, people who love books, people who love stories. And I also just appreciate like a good type A female main protagonist. Like, Nora knows what she wants. She knows what she likes. She's not ashamed that she likes to research things, that she likes structure, that she likes checklists, that she likes to have this type of feeling in her life. She also recognizes that she's always dated with a distance, like with the assumption that it was going to end. obviously given probably her childhood, her love for her mother and her sister and these types of things. And I love to see it too. Turning on a head of some like tropes and stereotypes that you find within romance. And I think it's a really fun setup and story. I also love this like picturesque, charming small town that they go to because her sister is like, again, a romantic, but it's not quite the small town they were anticipating, which, you know, I think is important to the plot, which I sort of guessed. But all's that to say is 80 pages of book lovers. I'm having a good time. And again, Emily Henry's streak of making like distinct characters persists and continues. Particularly this one feels like a tonal change from Happy Place, which also felt like a tonal change from Funny Story. And I can't wait to read. They read so fast. Like, I feel like I sat down with this with just my cup of coffee and now I'm on page 80. So we continue. We continue with the Emily Henry read-a-thon. Millie's just sitting pretty, enjoying this very warm weather we're having, but she, you know, has a good window view, which is ultimately all that matters. I'm laundered, freshly laundered, and I have a book lovers update. I am maybe about a third of the way through this book, and I'm really liking it. Emily Henry, first and foremost, hitting me with the emotions, hitting me with the feels. I really feel for her main character, Nora, and I really enjoy her backstory. But I also just love, love, love this sort of turning on its head of some classic romance tropes, like putting a new spin on the small town romance story, because we're getting a small town romance story, but just like in a very new and different and kind of self-aware way, which is just great. The enemies to lovers, the banter is also just so good. And I also just appreciate the centering of a sister relationship within this book too. I just, you know, I've read 3 books back to back to back, and just the balance between emotions, individual character development, and romantic pacing. Her pacing is just divine. She gives us enough where we're like on the edge of our seats, but not too much, whereby like the end of the book, the 3rd act, I'm just bored and trying to get through it as quickly as possible. So yeah, I really like this one. I don't even know where to rank it. I need to figure out a ranking at the end, but for now, I'm 130 pages into this book. I'm gonna sit down now and do some more reading, maybe get past the 200 page mark, and then maybe do some cleaning and some errands today. Millie is lounging herself, but that there is an update. That there is the plan. Okay. The weather today has been so weird. It's sunny and then suddenly it'll get super cloudy and super windy. Scattered, dangerous thunderstorm season is upon us. And the trees are going bananas. In other news though, I have an update for book lovers because I'm officially halfway, a little over halfway through this book. Definitely on track for finishing it today, and I'm really liking this. It's interesting to think about my ranking amongst all 3 of these books, as I've enjoyed all 3 of these books so far a lot, but I also feel like because I've consumed them back to back to back, I feel like I'm going to ultimately have a favorite by the end of this vlog, so I'm excited to share. But nevertheless, I'm really liking this book, and I can see why this book in particular is a lot of people's like favorite Emily Henry. Obviously, first and foremost, books in this story are center stage. We have a small town bookstore, we have an editor, a literary agent, and also just like our main character whose passion in life is books. Books have always been a solace for her growing up in kind of a chaotic household that was full of love, but also kind of a lot of unpredictability. She also dreams of being an editor, and I really appreciate that this book, especially, I do feel like centers our main character sort of confronting some hard truths and also letting herself dream of a possible new future for her. I love that this book is almost 50-50 a romance, but also like a sister story, which I've been really enjoying reading. Obviously, Nora really has a lot of constraints on her life. She's very talented, she's very driven, but she also purposely limits certain aspects of her life. She always wants to be available emotionally, literally for her sister. Again, this is a remnant of how she grew up in her childhood. And obviously this creates a complicated dynamic for her sister because her sister doesn't want her to sacrifice so much for her. And so a lot of this trip is like both of these sisters like coming to terms with their relationship, what they actually need from each other. And it's honestly a beautiful thing to read. In combination, we have so many like classic small town moments, which I'm liking too. Again, this is kind of a flipping of that sort of romance trope on its head, but we still get to appreciate and experience a lot of those small town moments, from like being in the library, the swimming hole, like all the different various establishments, small town drama and gossip. And it just works really well paired alongside the rest of the elements of this book. Definitely have a lot of chemistry. This book also has the signature Emily Henry like humor and wit and conversational sparring and back and forth. Honestly, I really don't have any major complaints at all to say about this book. And I can still say with my heart of hearts that I would recommend it. Like, it has all the things that Emily Henry does so well. And I have been reading it really quickly and I've been enjoying it quite a bit. It's nice to have a bit of a trope change to enemies to lovers. This is my second. I would say all of the books I've read kind of had a small town setting, including this one. But I would say the small town is more of a main character in this book, similar to kind of like how in Funny Story, the small town is a main character too. And I think the setting is definitely shining quite a bit. The romance is good. The character relationships between other characters is good. I like that family is at the heart of the story and it's not just for Nora. Charlie himself also kind of has some complicated things to work through with his own family. And I like that these discussions are happening because we can always constantly evolve even when we're older, you know? And I appreciate that. So this is definitely a win. I'm gonna go sit down and finish it now, if I'm being honest, and then we will wrap this whole vlog up. Hi guys, and welcome to the end of the vlog, because I've officially finished all 3 of my Emily Henry books for this video, starting of course with Book Lovers, which I just wrapped up. I read all 373 pages of this book and I really, really liked it. I think of the 3, this was maybe my least favorite, but I would still definitely give it a 4-star, maybe a 4.25 rating, so please don't take that to mean that I didn't like this book at all. I really, really did. I found Nora and Charlie's relationship to be very charming. I loved the emotional depth and the exploration of family in particular with this book. I also just kind of appreciated the clever approach that Emily Henry took with writing this book in story, and plus as a book lover myself, the title speaks to me and I really enjoyed it. Next up, obviously, I devoured Funny Story. This was actually hard for me to pick between this and Happy Place for my favorite of the vlog. I think I would give 5 stars to both of these books, though I think I've selected this as my second favorite of the 3 I read this week. I loved the banter and the character dynamics of this book. I also really loved the setup, this sort of 2 exes using fake dating to get back at their exes, but then kind of scrapping that and instead focusing on themselves, kind of finding aspects of themselves they never allowed themselves to celebrate or embrace. I really appreciated the Upper Peninsula setting of this book. I feel like it shined. It had such good humor and just like a really endearing cast that I could not put this book down. And again, the chemistry was fantastic. But my favorite of the week, I think, has to go with Happy Place, which I'm a little surprised about, just given how I feel like some people love or just don't love this book as much. But I honestly found just the longing that was present in this book and the angst between our 2 main characters, Harriet and Wynne, to just be unputdownable. I can understand if you don't like miscommunication as a trope usage in this book, this might not be for you. I generally don't love it, but I really loved it in this instance. I loved the larger cast and the ensemble. I loved this sort of vacation house setting. I loved how everyone was sort of keeping their secrets from one another, but finally everything sort of bubbled to the surface. It was a book full of love and seasoned relationships through time, and I really appreciated that sort of multi-layered look at these relationships through time too. I just really believed the closeness that existed between everyone, and I really, really loved it. And it also really made me want to go to Maine. But honestly, I had such a blast this week reading all of these books. It was so much fun. It was exactly what the doctor ordered. And I completely understand now why Emily Henry has all of the hype she has. And I've officially read 4 out of her 5 books. So I'm basically caught up, which is also fun. Yes, I would highly recommend Emily Henry to anyone, even if you don't typically read a lot of romance. Because I personally don't read a lot of romance and I had a blast. I would also say summer is the season for her books because all of her books definitely have a summer flair to them that is just truly delightful. But I officially read almost 1,200 pages of romance this past week and I had such a great time. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you again to this video's sponsor, which is Cricut. And again, I'll have a link down to my craft and all the materials used down below. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you soon with another video soon. Goodbye!